Hey there, everyone. Sorry it took me a couple extra days to get this video to you. First and foremost, potentially foremost, first, I just want to remind you of our core approach to working through new material. That's going to be a two-pronged approach of consciously engaging the material in small sections. We're going to equate that to learning the dance steps. And then we switch to a more feel-based approach where we are no longer consciously engaged, which we could equate to the feeling of, I've memorized the dance steps, here I go and we try to dance, that exact same feeling. Whereas what is intuitive is to move on prematurely from section to section, do big sections with huge pauses, and accordingly never quite have enough conscious focus freed up to focus on the minutia of the technical details. For example, if you're playing a song where it was very clear that the left-hand part was the hard part, fretting it had a couple chord grips that were difficult for you. Let's say you were theoretically having trouble going from this G to B7, and the song went like, or something like that. So first and foremost, if you didn't know that rhythm, I was just going like down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's just for example. We'd have you sitting there just playing that rhythm. One good attempt, pause. One good attempt, pause. You could do it with open strings until it started to feel less mechanical, and then and only then trying to loop the rhythm over and over again. And when you're learning rhythms that are still complex for you, that you can't just bang them out by ear, that's going to be the best way to do it, not just repeat it over and over again. So then when you learn the right-hand part, you would switch your entire focus over to just mind-numbing repetitions of the chord change, consciously engaged with what each finger is doing. And that's, then you would have so you'd do that. Then you'd have a stage where you pretended the song ended at the first strum of the second chord of 2. You'd be going like, got it. Reset your mental Nintendo. Until you actually started getting it, and then move on to the next chord change. So that's what we mean by finishing small sections, but I just gave you an example of isolating left hand and right hand. The same would be true if there was clearly like some right hand pattern that was the hard part. You could arguably just use open strings and work on it. You'd be learning exactly the same thing. Cool. So that's implied in all the work we do together. Hey, stuff we learned this week. We're going to learn some note names that we're going to clear up a whole lot about the fretboard. We learned that you know F probably by accident, G and C by accident, so A and D like when you're tuning, B and E. So let's pretend we just stop there. This is the geography test, not the deductive reasoning problem. Please do not make this take a long time. All you have to do is just go over it and then give yourself some randomized quiz on the note name. So you can make yourself start on the fifth string instead. You could just be like E, B, D, A, C, G, even just doing that. And I don't mean looking at the page, So an initial stage where you memorize it consciously, then turning the page over and realizing this is the same thing as like assigning names to 6 dots. Something that's actually quite easy for us, aside from I got flustered and had a brain fart, which makes it feel like there's more to this task than there actually is. And that's going to be a recurring theme. And I say this to all my new students who are transitioning from self-taught to, just at a parallel stage. That's our approach. At any rate, moving forward, if we know those note names, we can play just about anything everywhere. We know the E chord and the E minor chord, and when we're playing bar chords, we're a human capo, and we're playing E shape or E minor shape. And for example, this is a G bar chord, and this is G minor. Now, if I said play G sharp minor, all we just said, now it's like sharp means one higher, it's just like pound sign, one higher. So, it's like that could potentially be scary. G sharp minor. It's just like G minor, G sharp minor. Or in theory, you could do it the other way. You could just be like, okay, G sharp, and then play your E minor shape. So just regarding, the naturals aren't easier than the incidentals, the ones with sharp and flat next to them. But we're going to prioritize knowing the naturals ahead of time and find those incidentals in between over and over again. There's only so many times discussing this as G sharp or A flat before you just accidentally memorize that that's what note it is. Cool, so if we pictured the guitar like it had no sixth string, we have A and A minor. I think you play A like this, and A minor. And when we play those as bar chords, so now it's like here's C, and I'm going ring finger flaps down in this uncomfortable way to play A. You want your knuckle out past the rest of your hand, wedged in there like that, which I think you were doing pretty well. And then A minor looks like this. So it's the same shape that's E major up here, A minor down there. If you just got flustered about what I said, here's E and A minor. Familiar, they're the same shape. Cool. Here's E. The same thing happening up the neck. So this is C, and this is C minor. There's no first position way to play C minor as a full chord that we use. It's like instructable, but it doesn't really sound good. Cool, so that covers all of our bar chords. And if you learn any other E and A shapes, like E7 or whatever, it's all going to translate to playing up the neck. So theoretically now, you can play any chord anywhere. Just like here's E, E minor, E flat minor, you move back one, boom, like that. And as you know, E goes straight to C, E goes straight to F. Sounds like from your last teacher you are aware of that. Speaking of which, we talked about triads. So let's come back to that. Or no, we might as well do that now since we're talking about major and minor chords. So you know how to play the major scale going somewhere. I just started it on G here, right? And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in the scale. A second is the second note, a third is the third note, fourth is right under it, the fifth is like a power chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, super dissonant, 8. Cool. So if I was that, then those are all G major scale. This is the note D, like A and D. If you do it here, same thing's going to work out. And we also talked about figuring out note names on the high strings by tracking them back as an octave. Now that you know more note names, it's like, oh, what is that? What note is this? Oh, it's F. Like that. If you're curious about what notes you're playing, or it informs your choice. So this ends up coming out looking like the notes that are in chords are a first, a third, and a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, boom, boom. And we're just mapping that out rather than playing it like a chord shape. But sure enough, if we look at any major chord, like C, a C chord, this is C. Or this is C easier, has C's, E's, and G's in it. If we look at it, sure enough, C, E, G, C, E. Awesome. We're really talking about this to address what are suspensions, what is D sus4, etc. And that all relates to adding notes other than a first, a third, and a fifth to your chords. So if I started on G here, and we were like G or D here, for instance. I think we talked about this in class. So D plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 1, 2, 3, 4 note of this is G. So when we're playing D, and we do the pinky push down thing, that's called D sus 4, suspended 4. You could also just write D plus 4. That's always going to be right, and I'll often write that. But yeah, it's just a D chord, adding a 1, 2, 3, 4 stuff from D. And all of your other suspensions are going to be related to that same concept. E sus 2 is an E with an F sharp in it sounds like. And that's the second note in the scale. So cool. So if you can play the major scale anywhere with however many amounts of brain farts, you can figure out any, +6 or whatever. Just even if you're staring at a note for 5 minutes trying to figure out what it is. So there we go. Those and when we're playing minor chords, this triad we were just playing, that was 1, 3, 5. The third, this one, is a flat third. So it goes 1 fret down, and now we're talking about this note, and this note. And that's, if we listen to that, it's like minor. And if I look at that, it's just like A, C, E, or A, C, E. We look at A minor, sure enough, it's A, E, A, C, E. So there we go. What notes are in each chord? The first, third, and fifth. So we're not going to see a chord called sus5, because that would just say you're still playing the fifth, which is already in the chord. Awesome, man. So yeah, and these 2nd fret, 4th fret, and 6th fret bar chords are really good to memorize at some point, because there's no way to play them as open chords or first position chords. Cool. And I believe the entirety of what we talked about, other than that, had us playing some blues licks. Pentatonic one you already know. We've been doing it like this. Having a relatively easy time doing bends on the 3rd fret, 3rd string. And then we realized that the way this goes is, sure, we're using our pinky in this position all the time, but sometimes we use our ring finger. So when we're on the 3rd string here, and remind you, this is our clutch position, just flush against the fretboard like that, still way out in front of it. It's not all that different than my classical position. So when I'm bending here, I'm on my ring finger, the most commonly bent note. I'm pushing up with my middle and first finger. My middle and ring finger. My first finger's on the string too, and my thumb's gonna slightly tweak to do it. That's it's possible to bend here, but it's really not how these riffs were meant to be played. Jazz guitarists are taught an approach of use 4 fingers and then switch out your pinky for your ring on bends. This is the opposite. This is, unless you've got some reason to deviate, we stay with those strong fingers. So when we spread out to the 2nd string, here I am in A, going 5th fret, 8th fret, my middle finger still comes along for the ride. I've got that same bend up here, where you can munch your hand up, but you're going to probably go right back to the first finger. So we were just going like normal, because we tend to play single note stuff on the low strings. Normal. And then all bets are off as far as our fingering choice. And, yeah, totally, this happens but if we're going, we're going to get it like that. All right, man. Let me know if you need any more material or any more input on that. How to memorize it. Obviously, you want to memorize the bar chord shapes and the note names, and you could give yourself some quizzes. Like, theoretically, if you look up any song that doesn't have crazy suspended plus 13 sharp 5 chords, after you've gone over this, you can figure it out. It just might take a second, knowing your landmarks and just those 4 bar chords. We also might have talked about 7th chords, but let's not even go there right now. I think that's enough material on its own. So there we are. We got a pentatonic scale. Pentatonic. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes in it. And the major scale has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in it. So there we go. The word diatonic, which refers to major scales, modes, and stuff, it has nothing to do with the number 2. But pentatonic does literally mean a 5-note scale. And when it comes to modes, Mixolydian has a flat 7th in it. If you were like, I'm gonna flat the 7th, and that's the same as our regular 7th chords, like the chord called G7 has F in it. The chord D7 has a C in it, like B, C. So yeah, some of the chords have a flat 7 in them. Alright, then I will see you 2 weeks from our original lesson. Really looking forward to it. Certainly think about anything in the history of recorded music that you thought sounded cool, that we can get after it. Otherwise, we'll have some, I'll have some suggestions for directions to go based off this core material. We're working on a lot of structure this time. You never have to learn over chords again. So just one boring session and we can get into music. Cheers.